At the Japanese American Museum and the San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles, museum staff and artists stitch together a tapestry of art, trauma, healing, and history.
And the Japanese American Museum provides that growing awareness of how an injustice has had and continues to have a traumatic impact on the families who experienced internment as well as their descendants. People who helped build the museum spend time in camp. People who now walking through the museum have a tangible reminder of what that time was like. As a minister, to continue to remind people of the need to simply see things as they are, regardless of who we are or where we come from, to value the lives of all.
The Japanese American Museum of San Jose is really one of the cornerstones of San Jose Japantown. It's seen as one of the keepers of our stories. Many were from farming families, so it was a sort of a dawn to dusk lifestyle of working all day. And all of a sudden you are thrown into this new environment that is completely unfamiliar to where you were before. Among many other hardships and injustices were these long days where not everyone could work and not everybody could, for a while, probably go to school. Creation became a lot more important, and you'll see it in a lot of our artifacts. People's resourcefulness of finding objects around them, like shells in the sand, where around their barracks that they used to create into beautiful pieces of jewelry. Otherwise you're just kind of in the desert.
A little picture we have in here in the gallery, that's actually from the government archives too, which is actually censored. It's always a couple things missing, which are, one is barbed wire fence, two is a guard tower. So these are kind of significant. People inside a camp, they always make sure to include these two things. The art can show what was the life inside a camp more clearly, significantly than the picture sometimes.
So the mission here at the Japanese American Museum in San Jose is to collect, preserve, and share the story of the Japanese immigrants and the Japanese American experience. The kimono is a representation of Japanese culture, and this particular piece Reiko uses to symbolize the trauma that was experienced during the forced removement and the years that people lived in these prisons. Each panel on the kimono is a picture of an individual who was incarcerated in one camp. The piece has to be viewed 360 degrees. You just can't deny any side of it. The pictures of the family members make it come alive, and we were able to get quotes and information about the different family members and put that together here to connect with the pictures on the kimono.
The very first pictures that I received were from an interview that I was doing with a number of people. I wanted to know what their attitude was while they were in the camp, so that everybody started sending me photographs of themselves. And then my mother had a few photographs, and I put out a call for pictures. The community ended up emailing me photographs that they wanted to have on the kimono. With the very first kimono that I made, the glass, when it hit together, sounded like a wind chime. So I decided I would leave the last 5 rows not connected horizontally when I walk, and it would sound like wind chimes. I thought, well, that's kind of a cool idea. But then I actually wore one of my kimonos in Japan, in the towns of where my ancestors lived. I found out that in Japan they have an Obon festival, and during that festival they call back the ancestors. And without my knowledge, one of the ways they call back the ancestors is with the sound of wind chimes. I felt like my ancestors were kind of leading me along on this journey. Detained alien enemy is what they stamped on all the envelopes after they were cut open. I saw that stamp on the letters that my mom saved from being incarcerated. And on the kimono, I actually have that stamp on some of the frames. Fiber arts and photographs are really important in describing the history of the incarceration. It's a visual. Make it interesting for everybody. Otherwise, you're going to miss some of the crowd.
We work with the community, we try to reach out and see what folks that live around here want to see. We live in a diverse community and we want to represent that community. And the only way to do that is to have a diverse collection. and be able to hear the different stories that each artist can tell. They're sharing their life, they're sharing their heart, they're opening up. Every culture on earth has a tradition of fiber arts. We can all relate to it. We can relate to the clothing, to blankets, to towels, to all of those things. That's something that we all use every day.
There is a really great legacy, that sharing of what art is and that expanding of what art is into different sections of the community that maybe normally wouldn't see that the San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles has to offer. You know, my wife and I would hop on our bikes and we'd ride over and check out all the galleries. And I was always just so enamored with the San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles. I mean, every single time we went in there, I was like, this is the best show of all these things. Like, how is it so amazing? I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to get in there in the next 10 years. I'm going to have a show in that space. I think the clothing itself actually has a huge amount of history that is recorded in it. I can tell that somebody's left-handed because the left pocket of their lab coat has the little pen marks of them shoving their pen in their pocket over and over. All those little details and that little history in the work, it just sort of lent itself to, in my mind, to being shown in the San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles. When I started making the Star Spangled Banner piece, it wasn't until I actually cut the holes and I was sitting there and I was mending it that I really had that like transcendental moment working on that piece, sewing together and sort of mending together this, in my eyes, this historical representation of this historical object of America.
I would like to mention
Yeah. Where to
when-
watch?
yeah, I would
Okay.
say like look at
Sorry about that.
yeah.
Look at, whoa.
I should have clarified.
Look at her. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Can you please
Donations from the community. Great. Thanks, Denise. So,
It's okay.